Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Winter session of Parliament to begin today. Opposition closing in on the ranks over several issues, especially intolerance. Government open to discussion. First 2 days reserved to mark Constitution Day. Pakistani and Nepalese envoys called for return to peace and talks with India during seminar held in Delhi on World Without Borders. Central team to visit Tamil Nadu to assess flood damage in the state as death toll due to downpour touches 176. US military investigation says bombing of MSF clinic in Afghanistan that killed 30 civilians was as human error. MSF accuses Washington of gross negligence. And French President to meet his Russian counterpart in Moscow today as lawmakers in France voted overwhelmingly to extend airstrikes against Islamic State group targets in Syria. Well, the month-long winter session of Parliament begins today, and it is expected to be a stormy one, with opposition parties closing ranks to target the government on issues including intolerance. The centre has expressed its willingness to discuss all issues as it looks to pass the crucial GST bill this session. The opposition attack is set to gain momentum from next Monday when the government brings its legislative agenda. The first 2 days beginning today will be a special sitting to discuss the Constitution and its maker, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, on his 125th birth anniversary.
हमारा जो संविधान है, ये संविधान सभा ने उसको एक्सेप्ट किया था। लागू 26 जनवरी को हुआ था, मगर 26 नवंबर को एक्सेप्ट किया गया था। और ये साल जो है, ये डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर जी की 125वीं जन्म जयंती का वर्ष करके मनाया जाएगा। और इन दोनों के सभी उपलक्ष्य में 26 और 27 नवंबर 2 दिन संविधान पर हमारी प्रतिबद्धता इस बात को लेकर के 2 दिन सभी सांसद इस पर चर्चा करेंगे।
सरकार का प्रायोरिटी में ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स अब टॉप ऑफ द एजेंडा में है। कारण क्या है, इकोनॉमी इंप्रूव करेगा, देशवासियों का हालत भी सुधारेगा। तो इसलिए हम इकोनॉमी इंप्रूव करने के लिए कई कदम उठा रहे हैं। साथ ही साथ कुछ कानून के द्वारा भी कुछ परिवर्तन वगैरह लाना है। वो जीएसटी का बिल हो, नहीं तो रियल एस्टेट डेवलपमेंट रेगुलेशन बिल हो, नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट बिल हो, आर्बिट्रेशन वाला भी हो। इस सभी विषयों में जो कानून अभी भी पेंडिंग है, इसको इस सेशन में पारित कराना है। ये हमारा प्राथमिकता।
Well, joining me on the phone line right now is our correspondent, Shyam Sundar. Well, Shyam, as far as the winter session of Parliament is concerned, it begins today and is expected to be a stormy one. But the first 2 days, of course, are dedicated to the Constitution of India and the maker of the Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So the real action really could be seen from next week.
Definitely, from Monday, the legislative business will start. Government will come up with legislative agenda, and opposition will also raise issues which it wants to raise, because already Congress and other opposition leaders have given notices for discussion on the issue of intolerance, reservation and other issues. So from Monday onwards we will see action, because as government has made it clear that GST is on the top of its priority, and it is trying to reach out to the opposition, and opposition is also giving indication that it is ready to pass GST, but there are conditions put by especially the main opposition party, Congress. So back channel discussions are on between government and opposition. We have to see from Monday whether opposition is ready to cooperate on the crucial economic reforms bills presented by the government.
You know, the Vice President of the Congress, Rahul Gandhi, in Bangalore, while addressing students, in fact, has said that, the government has not really reached out to them, and, they are on board with the government as far as the GST is concerned, but it's only a matter of the government reaching out to the Congress. Has that been happening? Is the government, of course, trying to ensure that the Parliament session also moves smoothly?
Well, yesterday Prime Minister Narendra Modi was quoted by Parliamentary Affairs Minister Mr. M. Venkaiah Naidu that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will reach out to the opposition and other stakeholders on the issue of GST. And there were reports earlier that Mr. Arun Jaitley, he tried to reach out to Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself and Sonia Gandhi also, though Congress leaders are saying that Congress party still have some reservations and some suggestions and amendments to the GST, though Mr. Arun Jaitley has said that the government is ready to accept amendments proposed by Congress, but not all amendments. He says that the basic architecture of the GST has to be the same because otherwise it would not help the states. Instead, it can damage the state rights. So we have to see. Of course, there are positive indications from government side, and opposition is also responding. We didn't see this kind of response from opposition and government as well in the last session. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, for the first time, he has said things and he has given statements in last 2 days on the GST. So it seems that Prime Minister understands that he needs to lead from the front if he wants smooth functioning in the Parliament.
Indeed, Shyam Sundar will have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining us there with those details. Remains to be seen how the winter session pans out. It begins today, of course. Now, on Wednesday, an all-party meeting was held in a bid to find the middle path and help the House function without disruptions. The Prime Minister in particular sought the opposition's help in passing the GST bill. Here are the details.
At the all-party meeting, various leaders expressed their desire to raise issues related to farmers, rising prices and the debate over intolerance during the winter session.
जितने सवाल चाहे वो किसानों के हो, बेकारी बेरोजगारी के हो, चाहे जैसे एक साधारण वे से कहा जाता है कि जो टॉलरेंस है, ये सब मुद्दे अभी सब तरफ से उठे हैं।
हमारे बहुत से मुद्दे हैं जो हम रूल 55, 56 में एक 5 सब्जेक्ट दिए हैं और 193 में भी पहला जो इंटॉलरेंस का विषय है वो विषय ऑलरेडी हम नोटिस दिए हैं 193 के तहत।
The opposition put the onus of smooth functioning of the houses on the government, which said it was willing to discuss all issues. The Prime Minister appealed for cooperation in passing the GST bill.
जीएसटी के बारे में प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा, वित्त मंत्री सबसे बातचीत कर रहे हैं। उन्होंने अनुरोध किया और किसी के मन में कुछ शंका है तो उसको दूर करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है।
Congress and the left are keeping their options open on GST bill, saying the government has not yet addressed their concerns.
जीएसटी तो हमारा बिल था और जीएसटी को पास करने के लिए हम वचनबद्ध हैं। हम चाहते हैं कि जो भी बिल हो जीएसटी का वो प्रो इंडस्ट्री हो, प्रो ट्रेड हो और प्रो कंज्यूमर। हम खाली इंडस्ट्री की बात करें और कंज्यूमर को बुरा उस पर इफेक्ट पड़े। आप इतने टैक्स लाभ देंगे, अब हम 18% क्यों कहते हैं, कैप रखो 18%। अगर आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट नहीं लाओगे, कैप के 18% से ज्यादा नहीं होगा, तो आप एक साल 18 लाओगे, दूसरे दिन 20 लाओगे, फिर कहोगे पैसा और जोड़ना है 22 लाओगे और चलते चलते वो 40 पे पहुंच जाएगा।
सिर्फ एक मुद्दा है जहां पर राज्य सरकारों की सहमति की जरूरत है, क्योंकि जीएसटी आने के बाद किसी भी राज्य सरकार के हाथ में कोई भी टैक्स प्रपोजल रखने का अधिकार नहीं होगा। सरकार से हमने कहा कि राज्य सरकारों से बात करके उनकी सहमति लेकर आप आगे बढ़िए, लेकिन अभी तक कोई सूचना सरकार ने नहीं दी।
The opposition attack could gain momentum from next Monday when the government brings its legislative agenda to the table. The session commences with a 2-day special sitting to discuss the constitution and its maker, B.R. Ambedkar, on his 125th birth anniversary. 38 bills, including some finance bills, are awaiting parliamentary approval. Vishal Dayya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi interacted with about 1,500 second and third year degree students at the Mount Carmel College in Bengaluru. It was the start of a series of visits which Rahul is expected to make to colleges and universities across the country. In a speech devoted to criticizing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, Rahul said, while democracy is about a conversation, the Prime Minister had not once called anyone from the Congress party. The Congress Vice President also said that his party strongly believed in the GST, but the government needed to reach out to the opposition on certain issues.
We have a number of issues in Parliament. We are going to raise the issue of intolerance. What has been happening over the last couple of weeks, it's very disturbing. Prime Minister's silence on these issues. GST, of course, is going to be part of the conversation. There are other issues. Corruption in BJP states is also an issue. Hindustan का मतलब live and let live. ये देश भाईचारे का देश है, प्यार का देश है. मगर बीजेपी की सोच, RSS की सोच एक हिंदुस्तानी को दूसरे हिंदुस्तानी से लड़ाने की है. इससे देश को बहुत नुकसान होगा.
Well, 3 terrorists who attacked the Indian Army base in Thangdar sector of Kupwara district of Jammu were killed yesterday. The heavily armed terrorists killed a civilian and injured 4 army jawans in the gun battle. Here are the details.
3 terrorists were shot dead at the Indian Army base camp in Thangdar sector of Kupwara on Wednesday. Armed with small arms and grenade launchers, they were killed in a gun battle that lasted 7 hours.
सुबह हमें एक रिपोर्ट मिला कि वहाँ पर 31GR लोकल यूनिट है आर्मी का, उसके अंदर कुछ ब्लास्ट की आवाज़ हमें सुनाई दी, उसके बाद कुछ फायर शॉट्स की भी आवाज़ सुनाई दी.
About 80 soldiers were present in the base during the attack that claimed a civilian's life, and 4 soldiers were also injured. Terrorist outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed claimed responsibility for the invasion. Meanwhile, 100 kilometers away, anti-terror operations entered the second week in the Manigarh region in Kupwara district. Last week, Colonel Santosh Mahadik was killed here in an encounter.
Attack on army installation in Thangdar is, in my opinion, intended to release pressure from what is building up in Kupwara against the infiltrators. As we know that encounters in Kupwara have been going on for quite some time.
The army also uncovered a major militant hideout in Poonch district. Security forces launched search operations in the Dungi-Cheed forest area near Mangnal village and recovered ammunition that included an AK-47 rifle and Chinese grenades. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the High Commissioner of Pakistan and Nepal's ambassador to India have said that there is a need for dialogue and peace with India. During a seminar titled A Dream of Our World Without Borders, organized at the India International Centre in Delhi, the 2 envoys said that the thrust should be on improving relations.
You would agree with me that peace is in our mutual interest. And in order to achieve peace, we need to talk to each other. Because unless we talk to each other, we cannot settle our problems, we cannot overcome our challenges.
तो भूकंप के बाद में भारत और नेपाल के जो सामान्य जनता के बीच में ऐसा हमने किसी अवेयरनेस पाया है हार्ट टू हार्ट बिटवीन द 2 सिटीजन्स ऑफ दिस फ्रेंडली कंट्रीज. तो ये किसी कभी भी इसको इधर उधर होने देगा, हमें विश्वास है.
Meanwhile, a central team will be visiting Tamil Nadu today to assess the flood damage in the state as the death toll due to incessant rains reached 176. Here are the details.
Death toll in rain-related incidents in Tamil Nadu has mounted to 176. The Met Department has forecast more rains in the next 24 to 48 hours. The incessant rains have meant massive flooding in many areas.
அது வந்து ஒன்னு ரெண்டாவது வந்து தண்ணி நிக்கிறது மெயினா எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப இந்த வருஷம் இவ்வளவு மழைக்கு ஸ்ட்ரிப் எடுக்காம விட்டார். எம்எல்ஏ எம்பி யாருமே வர்றதில்லைங்க, ஒரு அமைச்சர்களுக்கு கூட யாரும் வர்றதில்லை. எங்களுக்கு தண்ணி அப்படியே நிக்கிறதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டுட்டோம் இந்த வருஷம். நாங்க அதுக்கு ஸ்டெப் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு முயற்சி பண்ணா ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கும்.
இங்க டெய்லி வந்து மார்னிங்ல கிரிக்கெட் பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணிட்டு சண்டே டைம்ல கிரிக்கெட் விளையாடுவோம். இப்போ வந்து 25 நாளா மழை பெய்யறதுனால எங்களால எந்த ஒரு இதுவும் பண்ண முடியல, ஒரு பிராக்டிஸ் எடுக்க முடியல, மேட்சஸ் விளையாட முடியல. ஸோ இந்த மழையால ரொம்ப அவசியம் இருக்கு.
A central team will be visiting the state to make first-hand assessment of the damage caused by floods. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha had earlier sent a letter enclosing detailed memorandum on the damages for the recent floods. The Chief Minister had written to the Prime Minister on November 23, pegging the flood damage at Rs 8,481 crores and urged him to immediately release 2,000 crores to sustain relief work. The government has so far released 939 crores, while 700 crores was released on Tuesday to Andhra Pradesh, in addition to the 330 crores given earlier. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but all the international and sports news on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 12:30 p.m. and Sunday at 1 p.m. Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the US military investigation team has found that the Kunduz bombings over MSF in Afghanistan early in October was a human error. According to them, the crew of the AC-130 gunship mistook the clinic, Medicines Sans Frontières, for a nearby government building that had been seized by the Taliban. However, the report does not address accusation of war crimes. MSF lashed back at the US for its gross negligence. They said that it constitutes a violation of the rules of war and renewed calls for an independent and impartial investigation into the attack. Reports also suggest that the US military attacked MSF because they had come under fire in the area. At least 30 civilians were killed in the bombings, which the US calls a human error. The military campaign was launched by them to retake the Afghan city of Kunduz from Taliban forces.
This was a tragic mistake. U.S. forces would never intentionally strike a hospital or other protected facilities. Our deepest condolences go to all of the individuals and families that were affected by this tragic incident. We'll offer our assistance to Doctors Without Borders in rebuilding the hospital in Kunduz.
It's pretty shocking for us that they would still fire on a target, not knowing essentially what they were firing at. And that really amounts to essentially gross negligence in terms of being able to not distinguish between the civilian and military target. And we think that that needs and requires further independent investigation, not by someone who is involved in the conflict, as the U.S. government is.
Moving on now, French President François Hollande will meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin later today in Moscow. He will make a diplomatic push for cooperation in the fight against IS in the wake of the recent Paris attacks. Just a day before, Hollande got assurance from US President Barack Obama to step up the operations against IS in Syria. In Moscow, Hollande will also press for a political solution in Syria with the change in Assad regime. However, Hollande's call for a united coalition against IS might fall on deaf ears, especially at a time when Russia is at odds with Turkey over the downing of a Russian jet just a few days ago. Turkey shot down the jet, accusing that Russia resorted to airspace violations. Russia, meanwhile, has renewed its airstrikes in Western-backed Syrian rebels. Despite the recent standoff, Hollande urged for de-escalation of Russia-Turkey tensions.
l'action contre le terrorisme. Et nous avons des responsabilités dans nos deux pays. Nous devons prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires pour protéger notre population et notre territoire, car aucun pays n'est à l'abri d'une action terroriste, et notamment venant du groupe Daesh.
Well, in related news now, the surviving pilot of the Russian jet downed by Turkey in his first interview yesterday said that there was no warning from Turkey and that the jet did not violate Turkish airspace. His version contradicts Turkey's relaying of the event. Meanwhile, the diplomatic fallout from the incident continues. Russia has broken off all military contacts with Turkey while bolstering its defenses around the base in Syria. The US, the EU and the UN have appealed for calm.
In a significant development bound to further escalate tensions in the Middle East, the surviving pilot of the Russian plane shot down by Turkey on the Syrian border said no warning was given. Captain Murakhdin said that there was no way the jet could have violated Turkish airspace, as Turkey said it did. The pilot had ejected from the missile-hit plane and was saved by Russian and Syrian special forces. The other pilot of the plane was scaled by ground fire from insurgents as his parachute descended.
Мы неоднократно там выполняли боевые полеты, знаем его как свои 5 пальцев. Боевые задачи выполняли и обратно возвращались по обратному маршруту на авиабазу. Мне вообще как штурману.
Turkey and Russia continue to dispute the jet's flight path, with Russia insisting it did not leave Syria and was shot without warning, while Turkey says it violated its airspace and was warned multiple times. Russia insists it doesn't intend to wage a war on Turkey, but reinforce the sharp criticism of the country as a haven for terrorists. Russians are being advised not to go on a holiday to Turkey. Russian Foreign Minister also cancelled his planned visit to Ankara, while all military contact with Turkey has also been terminated. On Wednesday, protesters gathered outside the Turkish embassy in Moscow, pelting eggs and stones.
Воевать с Турцией мы не собираемся. Отношение к турецкому народу у нас не изменилось. У нас возникают вопросы к действиям нынешнего турецкого руководства.
Hiç kimse bizden sınır güvenliğimizin sürekli ihlal edilmesine, egemenlik haklarımızın yok sayılmasına, hak ve hukukumuzun çiğnenmesine sessiz ve tepkisiz kalmasını beklememelidir.
The Secretary General urges all relevant parties to take urgent measures with a view to de-escalate the tensions, and he hopes that a credible and thorough review of the incident will clarify the events and help prevent future recurrences.
Despite the calls for de-escalation over the downing of the plane, Russia insists it would deploy its most powerful air defense system in Syria. Russia and Turkey have found themselves on opposing sides in Syria's conflict, with Russia supporting President Bashar al-Assad, while Turkey is staunchly opposing it. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's bring you some more international news in World Wrap. Germany has vowed to do more in the fight against the Islamic State militants. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said it was Germany's duty to reflect and to act quickly. Her remarks came after French President Hollande asked to commit more resources. France has invoked a clause requiring EU member states to provide military assistance following the attacks. IS has said it was behind the Paris attacks, which killed 129 people. Meanwhile, the Islamic State militant group said that it was behind a deadly attack on a bus carrying presidential guards in the Tunisian capital, Tunis. In a message on social media, it said a suicide bomber carried out Tuesday's attack, which killed 13 people. A belt containing 10 kilograms of military explosives was used in the attack. The explosion took place at a bus stop where the presidential guard picks up and drops off its staff near the former headquarters of the party of deposed President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali. 5 people were arrested in Chicago who were protesting over a video showing a white police officer shooting a black teenager 16 times in Chicago last year. The video, released on Tuesday, showed the 2014 shooting of a black teenager by a white police officer. Police say he refused to drop a knife. The police officer, Jason Van Dyke, has been charged with first-degree murder in the case. Chicago mayor has appealed for calm in the city. The UN has accused Yemen's Houthi rebel movement of obstructing the delivery of humanitarian assistance to the city of Taiz. UN's aid chief Stephen O'Brien warned that up to 200,000 vulnerable civilians were living under virtual state of siege. Houthi fighters were stopping aid lorries at checkpoints and allowing in only very limited assistance. Government forces backed by a Saudi-led coalition have been battling the rebels for control of Taiz for months. The coalition launched an air campaign after the Houthis forced President Abdrabbu Mansour Hadi to flee the country. Moving on to some sports news now. Indian batsmen once again struggled with runs as they were bundled out for 215 in their first innings by South Africa in the third test at Nagpur. However, the hosts struck back with 2 quick wickets as South Africa finished day 1 on 11 for 2, trailing by 204 runs.
After winning the toss and choosing to bat, the openers gave India a good start against South Africa in the third test.
It's time getting there, but will eventually produce the first boundary.
Murli Vijay and Shikhar Dhawan put up a 50-run first wicket partnership and the hosts looked good at 85 for 2 at lunch. However, South Africa hit back strongly after lunch. Pacer Morny Morkel and spinner Simon Harmer took 2 wickets each to leave India reeling at 125 for 6.
When Rohit Sharma was out for 2, made India 125 for 6.
Ridhiman Saha and Ravindra Jadeja added 48 runs for the 7th wicket to help India cross the 200-run mark. The hosts were finally bowled out for 215, with Harmer and Morkel finishing with 4 and 3 wickets respectively.
Right in front of the stumps.
Pace, there was a bit more bite off the wicket, a bit more, you saw a few balls spit, and as a spinner I think that's what you're looking for. When you bowl too slowly, a batsman can adjust and go back easily. So you want, ideally you want the batsman to commit to a shot, and I felt the best way to do that was to bowl a quicker pace.
With the pitch favouring the spinners, South Africa were in for a hard time. R. Ashwin removed opener Stian Van Zyl for a duck, while Ravindra Jadeja bowled out night watchman Imran Tahir. Dean Elgar and Hashim Amla were at the crease as South Africa finished the day on 11 for 2. India will look to repeat the feat of the first test when they bowled out South Africa for under 200 in their first innings. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a look at some sporting action in Sportsbeat. PV Sindhu and HS Pranoy advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of the Macau Open. 5th seed Sindhu defeated Kim Hyo Min of Korea 21-13, 22-20. In men's singles, HS Pranoy saw off Chinese Taipei's Lin Chia Sun 21-19, 21-15. B. Sai Praneeth also advanced with a straight sets win. However, Ajay Jayaram was eliminated from the tournament. Manchester United's chances of advancing to the Champions League next round remains in the balance after a goalless draw against PSV Eindhoven. Despite dominating the match, United failed to break the deadlock. They will need to beat group leaders Wolfsburg in their final game to qualify for the knockout stage. Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored on his first return to hometown club Malmo as Paris Saint-Germain thrashed the Swedish side to reach the Champions League last 16. Di Maria scored twice while Lucas Moura and added a goal each. PSG and Real Madrid have qualified from their group. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.